It's definitely created an absolute shit ton of friendships. It's brought people together from all over the world, and it's fantastic. And the difference is he still tests the boards. He makes it. I'm sitting here at his house in Maui, like just 20 meters that way is where he shapes the boards initially before we go to production, and then goes down to Maliko and tests them multiple times.
Welcome to the Foilers podcast, Dylan. Great to have you on.
Thanks for having me, mate.
I want to start with talking about the event in Hawaii. I understand you're over there at the, how do they say it, Koa Kai Triple Crown?
Koa Kai Triple Crown.
What's the vibe like over there? Have you done the event before? Is this your first time or many times?
So the Koa Kai Triple Crown is, well, this year there was 4 races in it. There was the one on Oahu, the Voyager race, I believe it was called, and Paddleboarding, which is here at the Maui, goes from the Maliko Gulch to Kanaha, which is about, I'm going to say it's about a 12-kilometre race. And then there's M2M, which is Maui to Molokai. And then there's M2O, which is Molokai to Oahu, which just happened on Sunday. I believe that the Koa Kai Triple Crown is a accumulation of your speeds, and whoever had the minimal amount of speed over the 3 races, or 3 of the 4 races, gets crowned the Koa Kai Triple Crown winner for 2025. I believe I was speaking to Gabby this morning when we went downwinding. They haven't announced it yet, so they're probably tallying it all up and maybe trying to work out how they're going to work with the Koa Kai Triple Crown on a quad crown event, I guess.
Are you there to go in the competition and support the Kalama riders, or just enjoy the time there and check out the vibe?
I've been coming to Maui now. I think this is my 10th trip in 3 or 4 years to Maui. And I did the Triple Crown events last year, Paddleboarding, M2M, M2O, which was a fantastic experience. M2O is one of the things I've been wanting to do since I found out it was even a thing back in maybe 2011 or 2010 when I was riding stand-up. And last year I got to do it, and this year I kind of said, I don't think I need to do it again. But I decided to do M2M as my third one. And the goal for M2M this year was to do better than last year. And I did better than last year by about 8 minutes. And the goal was to do it in under 2 hours. And I did it in 1 hour, 59 and 11 seconds.
They do say what the problem with setting a goal is you sometimes achieve it. So, like if you don't set it hard enough, you achieve it, but you might be under what you wanted to get. But it sounds like you hit exactly what you wanted in this case. So
yeah, my couple of goals were under 2 hours, have fun, and don't fall off. And I didn't fall off. I did under the 2 hours, and I had a ball. I was riding with some of my mates from Kauai that I was riding with the day before, and we said, wouldn't it be cool if we could just ride together for the race? And there's a good sort of 8 kilometers of just crossing over roundhouses with each other. And then I decided this is getting a bit hectic. We could have almost hit each other with our paddles. That's how close we were getting. And I thought, we're in a race situation. If I fall off, it's just going to ruin my day. So I'm out of here. See you. So yeah, just foiled somewhere else and still in the middle of nowhere. But yeah, it's good.
And what gear were you riding? Did you bring anything special from the Kalama Performance lineup?
Yeah, so we've just released the Gator. They arrived in Australia probably 2 months ago, and they landed here in Maui 6 weeks ago or something like that. And I used the production, what we call the LP, which is long performance. They're the darker blue ones that most people ride who downwind. 8 by 18.5, 105 litres. So I sort of went wider this year, went up in volume this year, a little bit less length, but not by much. Yeah. And the thing's amazing. Like it speaks for itself. Like you kind of got to ride one to believe it, and in my opinion, it's probably 20% better than the V2 Barracuda, which we had last year. Yeah, without going into too much detail, there's a couple of guys that were riding other boards that are quite popular at the moment who tried the Gator, and they've bought them. Like I've been driving boards down, dropping them off to people for Dave, and even I had a text from someone saying, "Oh, gee, I really wish that I did take the Gator because I couldn't stand on my board in M2O." So now he's ordered his Gator, and it's getting shipped this week. So that's pretty cool.
That's cool. I was talking to Cynthia Sinbad Brown, and he was raving about her Kalama board.
Yeah, she's an amazing amazing woman, amazing water woman. She's always been like, she's always out there.
Yeah.
She goes hard. That's cool.
Yeah. I like her. In my chat to her, I like her. I asked her, at 62, she was on the podium for 3 events last year. There, I asked her what's the secret to keeping fit, and she said Twinkies and tequila was her advice.
I did see your your snippet. I don't know what Twinkies are.
I think very sweet kind of cakes in America. I think, yeah,
Right.
pretty high in sugar. Yeah,
beer and tequila. I think the thing was.
Yeah,
was that,
yeah.
Is that what correctly? Beer and tequila.
Something like that. Secret? Something good health advice. She's obviously got some great genetics. Yeah,
100%. Well, they're Hawaiian.
Yeah, this is right. And I think she's out there a lot. So yeah, fitness does play a role in all of this, I'm sure. So Dylan, what's your background, and how did you get into foiling? Where did it all kind of start for you?
Well, to be honest, a while ago.
Yeah.
So I was in stand-up paddle, like the whole industry for, well, depends how far back you want to go. Like, so I finished school year 12 in 2011, and I was at a construction. I'll do this bit quickly and then fast forward to the foiling part. So I was on work experience as construction, and I remember the guy saying, "What do you want to do when you finish school?" And I was like, "Oh, I want to have a stand-up paddleboard school." And he's like, "Oh, you'll never make anything of that. That's bullshit, blah, 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 all this stuff." And I was like, kind of pretty deflated hearing that. And then, interestingly enough, that afternoon, Richard Finlay-Jones, Newcastle local, he was the importer with Simon Dodd for C4 Waterman, which was a Hawaiian company for stand-up paddle, like one of the innovators of stand-up paddle, like with Nation, all that sort of stuff. He rang me and said, "What do you want to do when you finish school?" I want to have a paddleboard school. And show me, sweet, let's do it. Because I was like kind of working with him at the time. So I got into stand-up paddle industry, selling boards, teaching, had a paddleboard school like, straight out of high school. Like I missed like the year 12 clap out because I was doing my instructor's course. And kind of got into stand-up paddle, was with C4 for a couple of years. And then I went to a company called ECS, which is out of the Central Coast, New South Wales, worked as their global brand manager and team manager for, I'm going to say 7 years. So I used to go over to America. I used to live in Florida back and forth through summer to summer. So I gained a lot of life experience, a lot of travel experience, a lot of people interaction, sales, all that sort of stuff. I drove around the country competed at Hood River in 2018. But that's where I got into, I'm going to say I tried foiling 2017 in Newcastle. Richard had one. And he said, "Hey, have a go at this." And I paddled onto a wave, got ejected to the stars, and was like, "What is this?" And then got a wave and breached and nosedived. And I was going, well, I didn't understand the concept of it. But to me, it was like, okay, this sport can go one of two ways. It can go too hard, too expensive, too dangerous. And to me, that's negative. That's just a closed-minded view on things. And to me, it was, this is intriguing. I want to learn how to do it. If they can do it, I'm sure I can learn how to do it as well. So then didn't touch it because I didn't really know like how to access stuff in 2017. Then when I was in Florida 2018, I was at an event at St. Pete, which is on the west coast of Florida, done a paddle race, and the GoFoil crew and Dave Kalama, they were all there, and they had a boat and they were towing. And I went, "Give me a go at this. Like, I need to have a go." And my God, it was the easiest thing, like the easiest way to learn was behind the boat. And it just, boom, rang Dad. And I was like, on Marketplace or Gumtree or something like that. I bought a jet ski. Dad went and picked it up for me. As soon as I flew back to Australia, we were on like pretty much homemade foils, like gluing them to the board and like bits of chopping board bolted through old boards to make it happen, and like just kooking out deluxe. But Dad and I go to the lake and get into foiling. That's how we got into foiling. And then ECS made a couple of foils. They were pretty good. And then I got the opportunity to become the importer for GoFoil for Australia. And I did that for 4.5 years. And also the importer for Kalama Performance in Australia. We're into our 4th year now. So, yeah. And I'm no longer with GoFoil. I ride for Lift Foils Australia. So yeah, right. Sort of. Yeah. There was a really good peak with it all, and then all good things can come to an end, and we move on. And do different things, and that's what I did. So still with
Sure.
Kalama, but I ride for lift instead of GoFoil.
Yeah, right. And what
Yeah.
attracted you to Kalama particularly?
Well, I've met Laird before. I've had lunch with Laird, and I know that Dave and Laird Strap Crew basically invented foiling back in the day, jaws, all that stuff. Legend waterman, rode for GoFoil as well. So I'd met him on my first trip over here in 2019, just before COVID, like a week before COVID started. If my memory is correct, I believe I got asked to be the importer for the boards by Dave once, and I kind of said no because, to be honest, it was fear. I was like, how the hell am I going to import containers of boards? Like, I couldn't even, I don't know, I just couldn't see myself doing it. And then I believe he asked me again, and I kind of went, hang on a second. And I spoke to my dad about it. He's like, it's not an opportunity most people would get twice. You better take it. And you'll just figure it out like you've figured everything else out in your life so far. I did it, and we ordered a first lot of boards, 2022, just a small order, just what I could afford basically to buy outright and bring it in and learn the whole. I was importing all the GoFoil gear, but that's all air freight or whatnot, containers or LCL loads, and have a really good freight forwarder in Newcastle, Drew Foster, D2D Logistics. Like, he's all over it. Basically, I explained to him what I'm doing. He's like a legend. I just want to do this just to get his boards in the country because he's an idol of mine, And then how it sort of took off was the E3 range Dave made in a 6.5 by 23.5, which is huge now. That's obsolete, gone sort of thing. Foil drivers love it. And a guy named Mick Branch, who's Cronulla guy, is my number one Australian team rider, basically, mentor, absolute legend of a bloke. He said to me, he goes, you got to get these boards in. Like I'm telling you, I'm like, to be honest, everything Mick said so far is correct. Like, it's like predicts it. It's crazy. He's like, you got to get these boards in. You got to get these boards in. Like, I'm telling you, I'm like, really? I can't really see it being a thing. Like, short and wide's the way to go, and that's where we're at. And I got 6 of them in, and nothing really happened. And then I did a flat water paddle up, my first ever flat water paddle up video on it, put it on Instagram overnight. All of them sold out. And then that was like in the midst of COVID. So I had heaps of orders. Like, I'm not going to name names because they're all sponsored by other brands and stuff now, but some pretty influential people in the Australian foil industry were ordering 3. And like, I sold out. It was ridiculous. Like, I couldn't believe that amount of people. And then I think that's what really kicked off downwinding. And that was like the era of where Dave went into the Barracuda, V1 Barracuda, which, as everyone knows, and you'd be silly not to admit it, that it flipped the industry on its head overnight when the V1 Barracuda came out. And it just pretty much got the downwind foil industry to where it is today, in my honest opinion.
Yeah. I want to go through the range in a minute, but broadly, what do you think makes the Kalama boards different from the other gear in the market at the moment?
Yeah, look, it's experience. It's, you've got, and no disrespect to backyard shapers or anyone like that, but you cannot argue the fact that Dave is one of the most experienced watermen in the world, period. In not just, he didn't just pioneer stand-up paddling, but windsurfing. He basically invented with Laird big wave tow-in surfing, jaws, foiling. Like, he was foiling 20, 30 years ago on a, what do they call those things? Air chair with snowboard boots. Like, there is no one else in the industry who has the experience that he does. And the difference is he still tests the boards. He makes it. I'm sitting here at his house in Maui, like just 20 meters that way is where he shapes the boards initially before we go to production, and then goes down to Maliko and tests them multiple times, makes multiple changes and incremental changes to perfect a product. Whereas a lot of other shapers have team riders, which Dave has team riders too, that we also have our input in dimensions and feedback. But a lot of these guys are just shapers. They don't actually downwind themselves, especially not to the level that Dave does. So I do believe that is what gives us that leap ahead. Because I think as a shaper, it might be hard to maybe, I'm not a shaper, so I don't know, but I'm sort of can interpret feedback, but how you interpret that feedback to execute it. Whereas Dave can have the idea, make the idea, test the idea, change it, test it, and go around until he goes, okay, I think I've come up with it. All right, Dylan, Tomo, Shep, Gabby, you guys go and ride these in different conditions. Give me your feedback. And usually when you give your feedback, he's like, it's like a checklist. I noticed this, I noticed this, I noticed this. And he's like, yep, I noticed that too. So it sort of confirms the findings, if that makes sense.
Yeah. What about let for those that aren't familiar with the range that you've got with Kalama, let's go through some of the products that you've got there and what they're for and some of their features.
Yes, just in the current Gator range.
Yeah, just in the current Gator range, and if there's any other products you can mention that people should be aware of. Yeah,
I'll start with the V1 Barracuda. There was 3 sizes: the 8x21, 112 litre. It was 111.69 or whatever. That was the most sold board worldwide. Like, it was ridiculous. Like, America sold out, and I had guys paying $2.5 grand in freight to get them to Florida because they wanted one that badly. And then as the foils progressed, more high aspect, they need the boxes further forward, more brands coming in, all that sort of stuff. The V2 was another huge leap. We went from 3 sizes to 16 sizes in V2. The V2 is still a fantastic board. All the boards are fantastic. I've still got all mine, and I still ride them. But then the Gator was just like, hands down, so much better than anything before it. And the range in the Gator, it's pretty significant still. I think there's maybe 13 sizes, I think, around that. In Australia, we don't do all 13. We do around 6 of those sizes. And the reason we do the 6 sizes is our market in Australia is different to the market here in terms of the level of foiler. Also, the range that I bring in is more suited to an intermediate, like beginner to intermediate downwind guy that isn't necessarily capable of riding a 95 litre 16-inch wide board, because most people in Australia who are riding those sort of boards are usually sponsored or have some form of affiliation with a brand that's going to have those boards. So there's a couple of crew that I bring boards in with them in mind who have an 8.6 by 17 at 95 litres, and they've bought them. They're stoked. But to go through the range for Australia, we have like categories. There's CP, which is the orange ones. That's compact performance. I only do one size in that, which is 7.5 or 7.6. Now you're testing me. By 26 at 115 litres. Usually I know them all off by heart, but I've slacked off a bit. That's basically for your foil drive guys, more winging or learning to wing, para wing. My dad's got one. He's 66 years old with a foil drive, and he had the V2 VP, which was like the board before it. And he went from that to the Gator, and he said, I got off the water straight away. Like, it was that much difference. So there's those ones. And then there's AP, which is all performance. So all performance is not necessarily looking to do extreme downwind stuff like we do here. You don't necessarily want to ride such a long, skinny board. So there's, God, I wish I knew the sizes off by heart like I used to know every other size. I'm pretty sure it's 804 around there somewhere. Oh, God, this is horrible. Anyway, there's an 8. I think there's an 80, there's an 84, and then there's an 87, which is 87 by 24 at 130 litres. Now, that is the board that if you are concerned that you can't balance or you can't stand up or you're not going to get going or you're going to be falling in trying to learn your downwind journey, that is the board for you. Or if you're just a big dude that wants the most stability with the most performance, that's your board. Done. And then there's LP, which I ride Kai Thompson, who just came third in the Molokai on, and Gabby, she just came second in the Molokai, first in M2M, right in the Gator. That's 8.6 by 18 or 17 at 95 litres. Then there's 8.8 by 18.5 at 105 litres. That's what I ride. Fantastic. I love the thing. And then there's 8.10 by 19, 115 litres. And that those 3 boards are the most popular for the current market that we're selling to. But then I have noticed there's a lot of guys jumping on those APs as well that are just a little bit shorter, a little bit wider, a little bit more easy, but yeah, just easier to use, but don't perform at the same level that an LP will, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
Does
So
that
the
make sense?
LPs, yeah. Yeah. So the LPs are obviously a little bit longer generally, except for that 8.6, and a bit narrower. So they're a little bit harder to use, but they obviously, will they go a bit quicker, or what's the difference in the feel between an LP and an AP for you?
Yeah, so a board that's narrower is going to travel through the water faster, but there's compromise with stability. But the Gator's stability is far more stable than the V2, and that's because of the tail. It's sort of got like, it's almost like it's got an extended fin that tracks and keeps you going straighter for longer. Just the overall design, the center point's been moved forward. There's more volume in the nose area. The nose doesn't pull in as much anymore. It's more rounded. So the LP is, in essence, longer, skinnier, faster. The compromise is it may be harder to use. The AP, all performance, is usually narrower, wider, more stable, easier to use, but it's not going to get through the water as quick as an LP. If somewhere with foiling, there's always a compromise, and you just got to pick your battle and which compromise that you want to take. And my professional opinion is, if you're at a level where you can do downwinding and you can balance, know your volumes, and then LP might be for you. But if you're more of an all-round foiler, it's the AP, but it's still going to do everything. And then CP is like not even interested in downwinding in the ocean, but you might do lake runs, bay runs, foil drive, para-wing, wingding, whatever you want to do, you know.
Sort of the one board that does everything when you're not focusing just on downwind then for the CP.
That's correct, yeah.
And so for someone just starting to para-wing, it sounds like the Gator AP, potentially the 8.7 by 24, 130 litre is probably a good choice if they're not so confident. Yeah.
If you're not so confident, yeah. If you're a heavier rider, that thing is like, we had it in the V2 in the same dimensions, and I sold all of them before they even got to Australia.
Wow.
So yeah, it was pretty cool.
Great. Yeah, that's a good product to have when there's demand like that for it. So yeah, that's awesome. And the more advanced riders on the LPs, and depending on weight and things, are going down in size, volume wise, as what people are comfortable with, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, it comes down to what volume you want to ride. I sort of say to people, so I was on a 98 and 102 litres on the V2. I had 2 boards. One was 98, one was 102. And I went up in volume. Just because the tail is so narrow and it doesn't really have that much volume in it, I say sort of, if you were 100 litres before, I would suggest going up in volume, because look, at the end of the day, let's be honest, this sport is hard. Downwinding is significantly harder than just the already hard foiling. Make it as easy as possible for yourself, like without compromising on too much performance. Obviously, you don't want to be out there with having this great ability and being on an aircraft carrier, because then you'll just be up on foil just going, why am I on this thing?
I mean, it reminds me a bit of windsurfing. When I was in the 80s, you see the professional windsurfers on their slalom boards, and they were flying around, and obviously they were great ambassadors for their brands, so people would go and grab one, and then they discover, they go pretty quick, but they're absolutely incredibly challenging to actually turn. You don't notice it because they're so good at it, because the rails are just so sharp. The average person's got to take a wide berth and struggle. So I suppose it's the same. You got to kind of sometimes suck it in and know what you can do, rather than looking at everyone else and thinking, I'll get smaller is better.
That's a massive point. So it's sort of like people need to foil to their ability, and use the equipment to their ability, not to their ego, or not to what Instagram tells them what to get. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of misinformation, I find, or not necessarily misinformation, but opinions from people who are like, and everyone's open and valid and able to have their opinion, but it can be really hard when you're trying to tell someone what you think they should get based off your opinion, but not necessarily a professional opinion based on someone who knows a product to a point, right? So like someone might ask me, does the Axis whatever wing go with this board, or where do you put it in the box? Okay, so I text Gabby, who's sponsored by Axis, and say, hey, I've got a customer. This is the wing that they've got. Where would you put it in the box? And then she'll come back to me within 24 hours, 12 hours, whatever it is, and then I can refer that back to the customer instead of me just guessing. Because if I just guess and go, put it at the 2-inch mark, I've just basically lied out of my teeth. And then I can't sleep at night because, I've just told someone something that I just made up, I'd rather go, give me 24 hours, I'll get back to you. And I'm just going to check with someone who knows. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We talked a little bit about Dave and how he goes and, can go and try something and test new products, etc. What's the philosophy of the Kalama Performance brand in developing new products, and how do you think that sort of compares with maybe other brands that you've seen or had experience with in the foiling space?
So instead of having such a huge range, how I've understood it with Dave is he makes boards that he likes to ride and then expands it out to share what he likes to ride. The range isn't huge. It's not like, and it doesn't go up in like, I have an 8.0, an 8.6, a 9-foot, and then I have 100 litres, 110, 120, 130, and it's sort of just whatever the computer worked out to be that the dimensions that you want to have. He sort of works it out and tweaks it all. It's pretty much sharing his quiver with everyone else and making sizes and tweaking sizes to where we think will suit certain markets and stuff. So we have Japan, Europe, America, Hawaii, Australia, New Zealand. And what Japan gets, they're all in the same range, but Japan might not order the same as what I'd order for Australia. So, and then Tomo and I in the V2 and the Gator have had a lot of input of what sizes we think will work best for X, Y, and Z, basically. Does that answer your question or not?
Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, one of the challenges, I suppose, is something new always attracts attention. And there is this sort of pressure every year to bring out something new. But you've got to decide what's your philosophy to that. Are you going to go with that sort of process where you're kind of launching something every year, or does there have to be a significant benefit or something driving it?
Yeah, so we don't do things in years. So like a lot of brands will have their 2024 range, 2025, and then they're constantly chasing their tails to innovate or come up with some fancy new description that doesn't really mean anything. It's just fancy words that, the consumer reads and goes, oh, my board's better because it's got X, Y, and Z, but they don't actually understand what any of that means or does. So Dave's always done things in series. So there was E2, E3, Barracuda, V2 Barracuda, and now we're into Gator. Now, the way that the Gator came about was actually 12 months ago. It's a pretty funny story, actually. I'd done M2O, and then Dave said to me, he rings me and says, how long are you back in Maui for? And I was like, oh, like a week. And he goes, what are you doing tomorrow? And I was like, downwinding probably. Why? And he goes, meet me in the car park by Whole Foods at this time. And I'm like, what? Okay. Yeah, righto. He goes, bring your foil, your paddle, your gear, but no board. I was like, righto, there's something going on here. Anyway, showed up. He didn't show me it. It was just, I could see the tail, and I was like, what is that thing? Like, that looks bizarre. And he's like, put your foil on. I think it goes here. We're going to go to the gulch. If anyone's there, we're bailing, okay? Like I'm going to reverse straight down to the water. You and Tomo got to go. Like, go. And I was like, right. So I felt like I was on this like full like secret mission, and went down the gulch. There was no one there. It was early, so like the wind wasn't that strong. He reversed like pretty much almost into the water with the car, and was like, go. So we pulled him out, and the first time I've ever got to look at this thing, and I'm paddling it out. And I'm going, oh, this thing's cool. Like, it's more stable. It tracks in a straight line, doesn't yaw side to side. It got up so much easier than my V2 Barracuda. And then when you were up, it felt about a foot shorter. Like, it rides a foot shorter when you're up and foiling. Touchdowns were not even a thing. Or when your nose slaps down, it didn't shoot off to one side. It sort of just straight back up again. And I was just going, what is going on? Like, this thing is incredible. We came in at a different location. Obviously can't say because, that's our secret training ground. So, and I came in at a different location. They went straight back in the bag. And then it was like, all right, thanks. See you later. And then we had a phone call later on to talk about what our findings were. And he was like, we got to keep this secret. Like, I can't let anyone know. Like, if anyone gets any wind of this, like, it's not, we're done for kind of thing. And that's why we played the secret game until literally like a couple of days before they were going to arrive. I did that corny ass video where I had the pillowcase on my head and pulled it off, and I was cable tied behind my back, and I was like, Dave, can I tell him now? And then it was kind of it was good because it was like people were sort of wondering, and I had a lot of questions like, we're coming into a new season. Is there a V3 Barracuda? And there was people talking, oh, there's definitely a V3. They're being quiet about it. What's going on? And then, boom, the Gator came out, and the comments were mixed based on the fact that it is so bizarre and so different and so far from any other board there is on the market in any discipline. Like even, canoe like this, whereas the Gator is like that. It's opposite. It's like the back of a hull's imploded on itself. But when you ride it, when you watch someone paddle it up, and then he talks about, or I explain the features of it, not into the same amount of detail Dave does, because he obviously is the creator of it. It makes so much sense. It doesn't pull water up with it when you're doing like a flat water paddle up. If you watch my flat water paddle up video that I did when I first got it, in a red Kalama shirt, there is no water that gets pulled up. And, there's ways of how you find that out. Like one of the stories was, he told me he was towing his 6-man canoe up to Piahi with his jet ski. And when you got to a certain speed, he'd look back and there's just water, just in the air, like mass amounts of water. And he's going, that's strange. Wonder why it's doing that. Then he slowed down and it would plane. And then he speed up. And what was happening was that water was getting sucked up the side and it was spraying at the capping point of like the gunnel, because that was its only release point. So if you have a board that's rounded like a log, one, it's going to be super unstable. But then two, there's no release point for the water. So as you paddle up, it's going to be dragging and sucking all that water up with it. Whereas the Gator, having such jagged edges and such a sleek design, it doesn't pull the water with it. Therefore, you get on foil, A, quicker, and 2, less effort.
Yeah. When I spoke to Cynthia Sinbad Brown, she was saying her first go out on the Kalama, just the stability was one of the things that she was raving about. She was really surprised how stable. And she's obviously she's very skillful, but she noticed it straight away. So
faster too. It was funny actually. There's a story. I got quite a lot of customers in Cronulla, in just south of Sydney there, because of Mick Branch. He's very influential in the area. Now, no social media, nothing. He's incognito, but he does like R&D with Dave and stuff like that too. And a couple of his mates, Scotty, one of them, Scotty in particular, who I want to talk about here, we went down to the bay wave that they have at Gunnersmata Bay. Such a fun wave, but it was tiny. He was paddling like he normally would on his V1 Cuda, and he was outrunning the wave. Like, I'm like, Scotty, slow down, man. Like, you don't have to paddle that hard anymore. And he was literally outrunning the wave. And I was going, and we're all just like, there was probably 4 or 5 of us out on the new Gator. And it was even the first time I'd surfed one as well. Everyone was just like, what is this thing? Like, I can't believe it's that much better. Like, it was, significant difference. Like, it's, you really got to ride one. If you're skeptical on it, you really have to ride one to know. I know Dave got a text message this morning or yesterday from Kai Thompson, who came 3rd at Molokai. And one of the key points was, I don't think I would have had the same result if I wasn't on the Gator.
Yeah, right.
Which is huge.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, there were some good places in the events for people riding the gear. So, they're awesome. Obviously talented riders, but still, that's a good endorsement. Yeah. When it comes to Kalama and people kind of understanding the brand and what it stands for, is there anything that people kind of misunderstand, do you think? Is there any areas where there might be misperceptions about Kalama?
There could be. Yeah. I don't know if I hear them directly because I'm directly involved. There's definitely other ambassadors and other brands and other shapers that have their philosophy, and their philosophy works in their eyes and their team riders and stuff like that. And then we have our philosophy and what works for us. So I guess got their opinion on what works and what doesn't work. So I pretty much put it down to the proof's in the pudding. You ride it, see it, touch it, feel it, ride it, make your own. Like I said earlier in this conversation, the couple of guys were riding other boards that are very popular at the moment. Another one just got a Gator today, and he's like, oh man, I wish I had this thing in the Molokai race. I needed it. I knew I should have got it prior, and now they're like, it's kind of like the poor man pays twice, right? Like, just buy the right thing the first time, but unfortunately sometimes we're led into other boards, maybe because of someone says that you need to get these dimensions, but they're not quite right for your actual ability, or it might be cheaper or something like that. But what you need to understand is what you're getting with a Kalama is you're not just paying for a foil board, you're paying for 60 years of innovation, experience, and knowledge that all goes into each board. Plus the construction of the gator. They're made in a kinetic factory in Vietnam, which a lot of reputable boards are made there as well. But with our carbon PVC construction, like an 8.8 is probably, I think it's about 5.2 kilos, which isn't extremely light like a couple of, say, Australian made boards. But if you drop it on the concrete, the paint might chip, but it's not going to pierce it, or it's not going to crack like an eggshell. So I think, to answer your question, everyone has their philosophy. Every brand has their philosophy and their team riders that believe. But that's only at team rider level. If you're a customer and you want to have the best possible board and you want quality and you want something that's been innovated, not just guessed, that's a Kalama.
Yeah. And maybe a more challenging question. If you're looking for any negatives, we're talking about all the good things. Is there any downsides with the gear we're talking about here that people need to be aware of?
Let me just check if Dave. Yeah, let me know if Dave's around listening. No. Any negatives? Not sure, to be honest. Maybe availability. Sometimes I've been caught out in Australia saying, "Hey, I want this size," but I don't have that size, and for me to get that size in, it's not worth it. It's a passionate, like the Kalama thing now for me isn't a full-time job anymore. It used to be. I've moved into a maritime career working on a tugboat, and I'm really enjoying that. This is a hobby now for me that I thoroughly enjoy. But unfortunately for me to get one board in, it doesn't work that way. I think that would be the honest negative.
Yeah, sure.
Because the factory doesn't just make one board and send it. Like, we all order in our particular ordering times and stuff like that. In the past, I've been to Maui and brought boards back with me for customers. Like, the option's been open. If someone wants an 8.6, I can bring an 8.6 home tomorrow when I come back. But yeah, I think if you want to talk about the negative, I think availability in Australia for the not so popular sizes. But if you really want it, I can get it. It might just cost you a little more than what is advertised online. Like, it'll still be the $300, but the freight component, I'll go halves or something like that. Like, I would rather see someone on a Kalama board and have a great experience with Kalama Australia than go somewhere else because I couldn't get it. But obviously, if it's not in stock, it's not in stock. If Dave doesn't have it, he doesn't have it. I can order it for you on the next lot, but you might be waiting a while. So I think that's probably the only honest negative that I can think about on the spot right now.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, there's nothing else really. Like,
it does sound like there's a range enough so the beginners and advanced have got something in there to kind of assist them, so you don't have to get to a certain level before you can get into the board. You might just work your way through different models. Yeah.
There's always that, and I've always had this philosophy in my whole career in paddleboard and foil sales is, if I don't have a board if I don't have a board to suit you, I'm not gonna sell it just to make the sale. Like, because I want to sleep at night and know that you're having a good experience. Like, if you can't stand on, or you're too heavy for what I've got in stock, I'm not going to sell it to you just, because then I know that you're going to have a horrible time on it, and you're going to be going, "Oh, that Dylan guy sold me this board, blah, blah, blah." Whereas I'd rather say, "I'm sorry, man, I don't have a board to suit you at the moment," or if there's another board that I think would be suitable for them, I would probably steer them in that direction. Yeah. Or it's just, the sport is too expensive to be mucking around too much with swapping gear and whatnot. And people sort of come to me for my professional opinion on what is correct and right for them, so they're not left in the dark, like buying something on Marketplace because the guy wants to get the sale. He's like, "Yeah, man, this is heaps good for you." And then he's just flicked the same shitty foil setup to the seventh person on Marketplace. Yeah.
I've seen examples in some shops where, there's some really good foilers standing behind the counter, and I think sometimes they forget what it's like, how hard it can be for people, and they're recommending stuff, and they're meaning to do all the right things. But I've sometimes seen people on the wrong gear just because I think maybe the person behind the counter's just a really good foiler and forgets what it's like to actually get started.
Yeah, 100% agree. So like I've been coaching foiling for 6 years now, and sort of you really got to. You might go through more wings. You're best to start on something that's going to be easy and suitable for you. Yes, you might have to change it in 6 months' time, but if you started on that one that say, you might have started on the lift 120 where you should have been on a lift 150, it's just going to make your progression so much quicker and safer and easier. But no, I do know what you mean. I think everyone gets a little bit frothed out and foil brained and whatnot, and they just sort of forget that hey, this guy's 10, 15 kilos heavier than you. He doesn't have the same surf background as you. He shouldn't be riding what you're riding. But if he aspires to ride what you ride, maybe set him up with the same model board or same foil model, but in a larger size, so they're not out there just struggling. And then you paddle out and you're running cutting laps around. And he's like, oh, what's going on, man? Why can't you do this? And it's like, well, you just told me to get it, and now I can't do it. So what? That's on you.
Yeah. It's not good for the sport either. It's because it is frustrating, and I think that's part of what makes the community so great. In my local, obviously, when you're learning in Perth, Western Australia, you're in the Swan River here before you even venture to the ocean, and there's just such a great community down there of people that have all got the sort of the best support for people trying to do it, and we all know how frustrating it can be. I think that's
is
really
the Swan
lovely.
River where those like semi-displacement hull boats go through at 8 knots and people go thieving?
Yeah, so really,
yeah, I've done that.
really
So
popular
fun.
for
So fun.
dock starting and things like that. Particularly this time of year in winter.
Yeah.
We're obviously famous for wind in summer, but winter it just drops right off, and so everyone doning on their wetties and trying to catch boats wakes as they go past. It's pretty.
Yeah.
It's getting pretty packed behind some of these big ferries in Perth now.
Really?
Which is a bit of fun. Yeah. At one stage, the ferries were actually stopping when people got in behind them. They went through a bit of a phase of getting annoyed with it, but they seem to have gotten over that, which is great. But everyone's just got to be a bit sensible.
Going.
Yeah. What's your take on the current state of foiling at the moment? Do you think it's where is it in its evolution, and what's kind of exciting you about what might be coming up into the future for foiling? Big question.
It's a really interesting question to ask. I have seen a downturn in people wanting lessons, of wanting to learn. Maybe it's more accessible now. Like I used to have people travel from as far as Jervis Bay all the way to Coffs Harbour to me in Newcastle to coach them how to foil for the first time. But now there's probably more people set up. So but there's a lot of people in it. There's a lot of gear in it. I think if you want to talk about a gear perspective, like equipment, it's quite flooded at the moment. There's a lot of equipment. There's a lot of secondhand gear. So there's a lot of secondhand entry-level people coming into it, which is great for the sport because it's adding more people. It's definitely growing. Like if you look at, I'll just look at my results from the last 3 M2Ms. There was like 40 people or 50 people in 2023 M2M, 120 last year, 185 this year, just in SUP downwind. Now, which is crazy to think of because coming from stand-up paddle background and not really being a surfer as such, like I was a bodyboarder, then a longboarder, and then stand-up paddle into stand-up paddle foil, still longboard, definitely no bodyboard anymore because I broke my shoulder last year doing it. And people would always write off stand-up paddling, like, oh, that's gay, sea sweeper and blah, blah, blah. And then you see all these like heavy surf dudes that are, quite the ego about them. We're like, oh, I've got to learn. If I want to learn how to downwind, I've got to learn how to SUP. And then, next minute they're doing tutorials on how to SUP. And you're like, hang on a second. Weren't you like the biggest SUP hater ever? So SUP foiling, yes. Like SUP downwind foiling, I believe is taking off. Prone, not real sure where prone's sort of stagnant at the moment. Winging, I'm not in the wind scene, like kites and sails and stuff like that. Here on Maui, there's still a lot of wingdingers. Parawing is definitely something that I wouldn't do, but after doing a Kihei run with the Kauai boys the other day, it kind of interests me. But then living where I live, definitely not. Like it's too fickle.
Yeah.
SUP foiling in the waves, unless it's a bay wave break. So I think prone, downwind are still the strong ones, and parawing is the new thing to do. So obviously that's going to have a an influx of people, but it's definitely still growing. There's still a lot of people doing it. There's still a lot of people getting into it. I think as a community of foilers, we need to be encouraging of the people who are, beginning. Obviously, also be educational as well, because it's nothing worse than a kook paddling out on a foil with no leg rope on. That gives me the shits, And I've had words with people very kindly in the water, and then they arc up at you, and you're like, mate, think about it. Think about it. It could. Yeah, I had an incident with someone on a beach that you had to drive 10 k's with your four-wheel drive to get anywhere. Had no leg rope on. He said, "Oh, the shop said I don't need one." I went, "Well, let's go in, mate. I'll give you one just so I know that me and my partner are going to be chopped up alive out here." So, yeah, I think as a community that are already in it, educated in it, we need to educate the new people into etiquette, and safety is a huge one. I'm a massive advocate for when you're downwinding to wear safety gear like life jacket. I've got an EPIRB. My phone's on me. I wear fluoro jerseys. I actually make fluoro jerseys. Did my own R&D on it for orange and pink jerseys, the most seen colours in the ocean. Yeah, hope that answers your question.
That was a good rundown. I understand you run some foil camps. So can you talk through kind of what that's about, when they're on, and what do you do?
Yeah, I'd love to. So how it happened was I was supposed to run a foil component in the Maldives, and as part of a stand-up paddle thing with another stand-up paddle coach, and we didn't reach our minimum numbers at the cutoff period, so we basically had to cancel it. And Corey Elwood, who's the owner of Foil Brain, which is the clothing that I'm wearing, the hat, yeah, love it. So the gear's so good. He froths out. He's Geraldton local, and he was one of the guys on the trip, and I just sort of, because I was in contact with him, I was kind of like, do you want to just go to Bali? Let's just go to Bali. Hadn't actually met him. We're just in correspondence. He works maritime industry as well, so a lot in common. And then I dragged my best mate Mitch along, who I work for at BMG in maritime and tugboats. And we went to Bali and we tow foiled 6 days in a row. It was wild. Had the best time. And there was other guys that were traveling there with their wives or friends or on their own, and then every day they'd be like, "Hey, can we foil with you guys tomorrow? That was really fun yesterday. What time should we meet in the morning?" And I just said to Corey, I went, "This is a thing, man. We don't have to. I've done coaching clinics, coaching camps before in Australia, and we just pretty much did it. It was so random. Corey, he's not as good on talking on the camera. You get that's what I do, and I put my phone on selfie mode video on a bintang can, looking out at airport rights, and just started this conversation with him and said, "Oh, we're going to do a foil camp. It's going to be April next year." Pretty much just pulled it out of my ass, realistically, is what was, the details as such. And we had this huge influx of people say, "I want to come, let me know." And I was like, "All right, I'll put you on the VIP list." And then when it came time to finalizing the whole thing, we sent out invitations to the people on the VIP list, and it sold out without advertising it. And we were like, shit, okay, that's cool. So we ran our first official foil camp in April, just gone, in Sanur, Bali, in one Queenslander, two guys from the Central Coast, myself in Newcastle, one guy from the South Coast near Ulladulla, and then the rest were WA guys. There was Paul Fitters, who's 70. What a weapon!
I know Paul.
That guy towed. Yep. My God, he's such a good bloke. I was calling him Grandpa and stuff, and I call Corey Dad every now and then just to, bit of fun. But we had the sickest time. We tow foiled every single day. We proned maybe 1 or 2 days, and everyone had a really, really good time. If you want to talk about the only negative was that we slacked off on the videography, but on the next camp we have full videography. I'm flying in a guy from Newcastle for the trip, and he's going to do all the in water, all the videography, all the photography. He's got package deals and stuff like that. But pretty much in summary, it's not a coaching camp, but I will coach because I am a foil coach if need be, because I obviously want to see people, excel and do well and have a good time. It's out of Sanur. It's a private villa that it's only for us. You don't even have a room key. We press the buzzer and our staff come to the door. You've got your own room, ensuite. We've got our own pool, brekkie every morning. I put on a big Indonesian feast one night. You get a ton of merch, jerseys, hats, a couple other goodies that no one knows about for our next camp, which we're super stoked about. It's a lot of gear to travel over there with, though. But pretty much, yeah, it's all inclusive, everything inclusive, $3,500 for 7 days of foiling your absolute brains out to the point where, like, I had Adam Bond from the Central Coast, who just goes non-stop. He goes, all right, you wore me out. I think I'm done. Like, my legs, I can't take it anymore, you know?
Yeah.
It's just, realistically, it's a really, really affordable camp to come on, and you don't think about it. If you land on the day that your camp starts, there's a guy waiting with a sign that says, you know, like Paul Fittis, foil lord or foil frother or something like that. You get picked up, you get brought to our estate where we stay, and you've got a motorbike waiting for you, which, you know, if you're not interested in riding a motorbike, I can organise a bicycle and whatever, or a car, like, and we can just, for the bigger trips.
Yeah.
Videography, brekkies included, one night's dinners included, your bikes. Some of the camps, couples can come, so you can have it, like, if your partner foils, it's only $1,800, and if your partner doesn't foil but just wants to come because, you know, let's be honest, like, sometimes it might get that foil trip across the line if your missus can come.
Yeah, that's
and,
right.
It's $1,000, and they can lay by the pool. I put them up in a spa day for a day or whatever. They get the meal. They probably get the t-shirts and stuff too. And yeah, it's just such a good time. Like, the last one couldn't have went any better. Put it this way, this is how good it went. Every single person who came on last camp has rebooked for next year's camp. There's a whole week just called the reunion camp, and plus some, because a couple of their mates are like, I want to go with you. So there's a couple of plus ones that are coming as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
If it helps, there's a camp on the 3rd of November till the 10th of November this coming year. There's 4 spots left, $3,500. If you want to make it cheaper for yourself, have a mate, you can share a room. There's 2 rooms where they have 2 single beds, and you can share you can go halves in whatever 3,500 plus 1,800 is, and work it out that way.
Yeah. And what about, and sorry if you touched on it, but just foiling experience, where should you kind of be up to make the most of that? Yeah,
it's definitely more of a prone style camp, but toe start. You need to know how to sink start or wake start. We had one guy on the last camp who said that he would learn and didn't learn, but by day 2 he had it, because, you know, you're surrounded by it was 10 of us, was there? Like 9 other blokes that are just sink starting, and then there's, you know, like Bondi was helping him. He's had, like, hold his board underwater, and yeah, by day 2 he was toe starting, and it just, like, the level of froth just went up a notch, you know, because everyone was, and we just go round and round and round. Like, we have 3 to 4 boats running for up to 5 hours a day, and, like, I drive, Corey drives, and then my boys Ari and Wayan. So we linked in with a surf school there, and, you know, we go and have an afternoon, have a briefing, like, you know, what worked, what didn't work, what do you want to work on, what's better. Just, like, yeah, it's so good. It's such a good time. Like, yeah, it's just, like, I'm going back over in 2 weeks for another 3 weeks, and then I have a couple of weeks off, and I go back over for the camp again. So you're just going over to finalise some stuff, and yeah, the boats will be sign written with our stuff on it. The boys want everything sign written, so yeah, it's pretty cool. It's awesome, eh?
My experience with towing is so much of it comes down to the drivers too, because, you know, what it takes to pull someone up on a board onto the foil versus what it actually takes to keep them going. I've seen people shot up in the air many times with, you know, you got to know what you're doing towing, I think, as well. Those drivers make a big difference.
That's true. So, like, Ari doesn't come from a surf background at all, and I was sort of coaching him through that week on how to do the toe starts. And I speak, like, a little bit of Bahasa, but not enough. But he doesn't speak much English, so it's kind of, I'm learning their language, he's learning our language. And yeah, some of the boys are like, that bigger dude, far out, man, I always rip my arms off. I'm like, yeah, we're working on that. It's only his 3rd day towing. And then, yeah, but by the end, he was frothing, like, he was filming, had the jersey on, the hat, like, he was texting us, like, when we left, when are you guys coming back? We miss you. That was the best week of our life. Like, it's just so good, eh? It's just a really fun time. Like, everyone is treated, like, and respected equally. There's no one. It's basically, if you're going to come on our camp with a huge ego, you're going to figure it out pretty quickly that it's not welcome there. It's just everyone's there to have a good time and just be on a level playing field and encourage each other. You know, we've got some crew, a lot of crew in their 60s that are coming this time, and couples as well, which I'm really looking forward to. Like, I'm really, really looking forward to. I think week one, there's 3 weeks in a row. Week one is more beginner to intermediate. So the level's going to be a little bit more mellow. Week two, I believe there's a mixture. Week three is like, I'm pretty sure it's heavy hitters, basically, or yeah, maybe.
Yeah. That sounds awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, as we've said a number of times in our chat, it's, you know, the community counts for so much. So to get together and go and enjoy yourself and learn from others and just watch others, it's what it's all about, really, isn't it? So great.
Yeah, so good. It's definitely changed a lot of people's lives for the better. It's definitely created an absolute shit ton of friendships. It's brought people together from all over the world, and it's fantastic. Like, I don't think there is any other sport that I've been involved in or community that I've been involved in that has the scale of what foiling has. Like, when I talk about scale, I mean people from all over the world, you know. And then, you know, even if it's just someone that you talk to on Instagram or something like that, but you still get an understanding of what it's like in their conditions or what they ride or what they recommend or whatnot, and you can have an open discussion about that stuff. So I think it's really special, and I think we really got to keep it going good because,
that's right.
It doesn't take too many people to stuff it all up, really, does it?
No, it doesn't.
So,
it doesn't.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a few quick fire questions now to kind of finish off with.
Fire away. Yeah.
All right, just ready. Here we go. Describe foiling in one word.
Addictive.
Yeah, agreed. What's the most rewarding thing about foiling for you?
The feeling that it gives you. I'm just going to leave that at that because that can be determined in so many different ways and so many different disciplines of the sport. But the feeling that foiling gives you is unlike anything other that you can experience on the water.
Yeah. What's the best advice you've ever received about foiling?
Best advice I've ever received for foiling. I'm almost going to say be patient.
Yeah. It takes time.
It takes time. Leave the ego behind is what I would. Yeah. Be patient and leave the ego out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. It can be very humbling at times. Yeah.
Very humbling. My God. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've said it a few times on this, but I'm throwing small dock start boards off jetties and things, and I'm getting very fit climbing ladders. It's very humbling. But
I don't do that. I know my limits. I don't dock start. That's a party trick I don't need to do. Yeah.
Yeah. There's one guy I do it with, and I was there when he did his thousandth throw. He's been counting them.
Oh my God.
So he's getting pretty good, obviously. But
I'd hope so after 1,000. I think I'd try 3 times.
So.
No, that'll do.
He's tenacious. What's been the worst crash moment for you in foiling so far? Is there one that stands out?
Yeah, probably 2022. I was doing a Maliko, and this is before I was wearing a life jacket. I was just wearing a Camelback, and I breached going down this smack and swell, and I hit the water so hard that it ripped my paddle from me. Like, I didn't even let go of it. And I come up and I was seeing stars, like I had a mild concussion, which I know a couple of people who have had significant concussions from downwind foiling and whiplash and stuff like that. And that's what really prompted me into the safety aspect of what I definitely advocate for now. So yeah, I think if you want to talk about just a stack, it was probably that one. I could have easily have knocked myself out and been face down and had no life jacket on. So that's what it doesn't even matter if it's a bay run, a 2K bay run, I'm wearing a life jacket. Yeah.
There's lessons to be learnt along the way, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely.
What's the next big foiling adventure or challenge on your horizon?
Well, I'm kind of finished with the racing, to be honest. I do a couple of big downwinders at home. I do Port Stephens to Newcastle, which is 52 Ks, and I've mapped out another one, which is probably double that. I just need to get the logistics right. But I do have a couple of other bigger sends that I'm curious to do. It's just, getting logistics and safety right for me, and growing the foil camps and going to different locations. That's on my radar now, is the foil camps. It's all about having fun, not being so serious about trying to go fast. Like, downwinding's already a logistical nightmare as it is. So why would we waste 3 hours of driving to go and try and do it as quick as possible?
Yeah, you want to be out there
You
for
want
a
to
long
enjoy
time
it.
and a good time.
Yeah. That's
definitely. Anything we haven't covered that you want to chat about before we finish up?
I pretty much just want to thank you for the opportunity for reaching out to me. And I think I don't promote myself. I definitely don't do it as much as I used to do. The promoting, I kind of got over it a little bit. And being in the camera and in the doing videos and stuff, I kind of got a little bit burnt out with it. But I kind of believe opinion or feedback to things is more raw, real, and honest, opposed to what's hot, what's new, like, oh, this is the best foil ever because, I don't know, it's just the best foil ever. I don't actually know anything about it. Whereas I still ride the Lift 150 HAX. I used it Molokai last year. I used it in M2M this year. It's a 2, 3, 4-year-old foil, and I ride the 120. And I just reckon there's so much good gear that's still out there. And I just really want to educate people that don't get caught up in the hoo-ha and because I know so many people that buy so much stuff, and I reckon if they probably only ride 2 of the wings that they've bought, or they've bought all this gear, they could have bought a Land Cruiser right now with all the money they've spent. Like,
there is that.
Yeah. So I think if I had to give some, not feedback, what's the word for it?
Maybe advice.
Advice, that's the word. Yeah. It's been a long day. Advice would be, 1, poor man pays twice. So again, if you're looking at downwinding or a paddleboard foil, Kalama is where it's at. And then your foil brand, if you're beginning, make sure you talk to someone that you trust or that's reputable, because it is confusing. I ride Lift, they do things in projected square inches. And then you've got Axis, who do things in span in millimeters. And then you've got Code, who do things in projected square centimeters. So there's 3 different brands there, 3 different ways of measuring. It'd be like one person measures their board in liters, the other one does gallons, and the other one does Oz or whatever that is. So what I'm saying is foiling is hard. It's expensive. It is super rewarding. It's also very humbling, but it's also extremely confusing when you're entering the sport. So choose your foil brand wisely. Usually, because this is, anyone might be listening, is choose a foil brand that a lot of crew around you have, or a shop nearby, or someone you have a good relationship with. You might buy them directly from like Lift Australia or myself or whatever, because once you have that foil, you can't just put a Axis fuselage on a Lift mast and a Nash tailwing on it. It doesn't work that way, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So just take your time with it. Ring someone, get information, and don't be the poor man that pays twice or 3 times, or like some people I know, maybe 10 times. I could save you a lot of money.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time, and obviously you've had a busy few days there in Hawaii, had the event, so I really appreciate it, and great to chat. I'm sure people have enjoyed it. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, likewise, Pete. I appreciate it. Thanks, mate.